Hi everyone, welcome to another webisode of The Good Doctor. Today I'm here with Dr. Gordon Bland, a family medicine specialist from the Health Bay Polyclinic. And today's subject matter, Dr. Bland, is the common flu. But before we get into that subject, I want to know, because your title is very interesting.
Sure.
You are a family medicine specialist.
Yes.
How different is that from a GP?
All right, it's a good question. The terms mean slightly different things depending on where you are in the world. Where I'm from in Australia, or where other expats are from, such as the UK, New Zealand, Canada, a general practitioner would be the common term for the job that I do. So we're people who look after members of the family, and we watch you and look after you through your whole life, essentially. In America, what I do would be considered to be a family medicine doctor. In the UAE, there's a difference between a GP and a family medicine doctor. To be considered a GP, you finish your medical degree and you can call yourself a GP.
Right.
To be a family medicine doctor, you've got to do further study.
Right.
So the term family medicine doctor is to reflect the fact that we've done additional study over and above our medical degree. Usually it's about 4 to 6 years of training, and we can then call ourselves a specialist of family medicine.
And to the average person that doesn't know the difference, what do they mean in terms of the impact on their lives?
Yeah, for sure. We're used to dealing with health in a really sort of acute setting, as in you head off to hospital when you're very, very sick.
Sure.
And a lot of healthcare is delivered around that hospital-based or very, very serious illness-based model. Where family medicine fits in is we like to look after people when they're not that desperately unwell. So when we can look after you in the community, and where we can get to know you over a longer period of time and look after you through multiple different illnesses, and develop a working relationship over your lifetime.
So you don't necessarily have to see a family medicine specialist when you're ill.
That's right.
They're part of your family in the sense that they get to see you, your family, your activities, your behavior, what you eat, how you go about running your daily life, and ultimately offering solutions that would stop you from actually going into a hospital.
Exactly, in the same way that you might see an accountant, not necessarily when you're in financial mess, but if you're looking at planning and looking at, well, how can I set myself up in the best way possible? We do the same sort of role with people's health. We can look at, well, what risk factors might we need to look at for this individual person based on who they are, what they do, who their parents were, those sort of things. And we can look at how do we get you in your best health now.
So it's preemptive or preventative medicine as opposed to...
Both reactive and preventative, yes.
So the first question that we wanted to have a discussion with you about as the winter's coming into Dubai, and actually not only in Dubai, everywhere else in the world, is the common flu. This word is being used very loosely. Can you break it down? I mean, are there different kinds of flu? And when do we really have to worry that we're crossing over a certain threshold where it's becoming serious?
Yeah, we use the term flu all the time now. If we get a bit of a runny nose or a cough, we say, oh, I have the flu. And we've got to perhaps remember that that's not really the flu. The flu is influenza, that's the condition itself. And that's a very serious viral illness. And that's quite different again to the common cold. At the common cold, we get the sniffles, we might feel miserable for a day or two, or sometimes even 3 or 4 days, but you wouldn't refer to the common cold as life-threatening. Influenza, though, can be life-threatening. It can be quite serious, and it tends to give us things like severe fevers, muscle aches and pains, severe headaches, tummy pains, breathing difficulties, and can, in certain people, even be fatal, even now with modern medicine. Right.
I know when I catch the flu, as loosely used, it actually hits me in my spine.
Yes.
And you know, I get a real bad backache that knocks me down for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So when do patients or people who get this virus need to be worried?
Yeah, really good question. My somewhat cheeky answer there is, if you're worried about your health, that's a good enough reason to go and get some help. I would rather someone come to me and say, I'm worried about my health, and me have a look at them and reassure them that nothing nasty is going on, than have them sit at home with something potentially serious, but they just don't want to bother someone.
So when something in you says, you know, there's an alarm going off.
That's right, if you're worried, come on in and have a chat, for sure.
This is not normal, and this is not supposed to be like this, then it's enough to come and, come and see you.
Yeah.
Any foods that people should take when they have the flu, not to the severe part where they have to come and see a physician.
That's right. But there's the old adage, I think it's starve a fever or feed a cold, those sort of ones. Those sort of old wives' tales don't quite pan out nowadays. There's no evidence behind starving people or reducing food intake for people who are suffering with fevers. Right. If anything, particularly for kids, it just drives them nuts because then they're hungry and have a fever. Right. But what we do recommend is eat sensibly. So we wouldn't recommend high fatty foods or very spicy foods or large quantities of foods. So simple, fresh fruits and vegetables, simple, gentle things on the stomach.
Right. Anything with a lot of fluid, like oranges, grapefruits. Now, I remember from when I was a child, whenever I caught the cold, the common flu, I'd be bombarded with orange juice. Yep. Vitamin C. Yep. Now, does it work when you're having the flu, or is this something you should have before having the flu?
Vitamin C is wonderful stuff. It's great to help our body's immune system pep up and give us a good response. It's a very safe vitamin to take. Right. If we ingest too much vitamin C, we just pass it out through our urinary system, so we are able to excrete it very easily. Okay. So we extremely rarely run into excess problems with vitamin C. Okay. Where vitamin C use is controversial is, does it actually play a role in preventing the head colds or preventing the flu? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of evidence to suggest that it does that. A lot of people do, during flu season, just take extra vitamin C to try and ward off things. There's probably not a lot of evidence that actually works. Okay. But certainly when you're sick, yes, it can be very helpful.
Sure. And the old classic remedy, the chicken soup.
Yes.
Does it work?
Look, we laughed at this in medicine for a long period of time. We used to say this is an old wives' tale, but they did some studies on it, and it actually is pretty good. There's probably lots of factors there. Chicken soup's a great nutritional source. It's got everything you need in a nice, familiar, comfortable preparation. And you know, when you're feeling sick, you don't want to sit there and have a big meal. A soup is a nice, easy way to get all the nutrition you need. Over and above that, there's lots of good vitamins, minerals in chicken soup, and there's really good antioxidants that help our body fight the infection as well. So it is good stuff, yes.
The final question, medicine. We, especially in the Middle East, have a tendency that if anything goes wrong, we go for the medicine cabinet.
Indeed.
Any good medicine that you could recommend during the flu when someone's experiencing discomfort?
I guess we've got to temper it to the individual themselves, because someone who suffers with blood pressure or who's significantly overweight, we may be very cautious about using certain types of medications. So as a general coverall, it's hard to say this medicine is useful for everyone. Right. Generally speaking though, simple things like paracetamol and ibuprofen to help with your temperature and your discomfort, they're very safe and they're very good. Then we get on to things like, are the cough syrups of any benefit? Do things like decongestants help at all? Those sort of questions we need to tailor a little bit more specifically to the individual person. Sometimes when we're really sick, the temptation is just to throw anything we can get our hands on down the throat in the hope that we'll feel better.
Just go and reach for the medicine cabinet, Panadol, Tylenol, whatever's available to you, those common names. So your recommendation is?
Be very careful with that. The pharmaceutical market in the UAE is very interesting because we have lots of different brands and many brands that we're probably familiar with, but many brands that we may not be familiar with. And the risk we run there is if we're mixing and matching medicines that we might know or might not know very well, you can inadvertently be taking very similar things or medicines that interact or interfere without being aware of it. So what we generally suggest is take the minimal amount possible, have a talk to us or have a talk to your pharmacist about what you're taking so we can make sure that you're getting the right stuff and stuff that's going to work well together.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dr. Gordon, for this wonderful conversation. If you have any thoughts or questions, please tweet us, post it on our Facebook page and on our website. Dr. Gordon will be happy to respond. Keep in mind that Dr. Gordon will also be on the show every month from now on until the end of 2014, and we'll be carrying this conversation with you, our viewing audience. Thanks for watching eZeLiving.com, where you can find anything and everything lifestyle.